It's actually been a while since we've all done a show together. I can't remember the last time it was.
Yeah,
it's like a reunion episode of Friends.
Which one does that make you? I assume you want to be Joey, right?
I want to be Ross. I want to get some action with Rachel.
How's your knowledge of dinosaurs, though?
I got a paleontologist background here, so
This is a wrestling.
We were on a break.
Pivot.
Dear. Yeah, so we're talking about wrestling industry series. This is our first episode, AEW. We've got loads of stuff to talk about, but as always, roll the intro. I really missed that intro last week. I absolutely missed it.
Yeah, it's a great intro.
I was shattered, mate.
Yeah, guys, last week I just was absolutely really, really ill, which is weird because that was the first time since I've done this show that I've actually had to throw a sickie in.
Yeah, you never take a day off, like ever.
No, not at all. And the other thing was, when I come back to the office and stuff like that, there was so much damn paperwork.
What kind of
happy
paperwork
birthday to Terrell Hassan. Hassan Terrell.
To his mom.
Yeah, his mother.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We love moms here on the FW network.
We're very mom friendly.
Oh, yes.
Very
I
mom
love
friendly.
me some mama.
Not even get into MILF territory. But that's after dark. That's later.
Yes. We're not asking you to send us any 8x10s of your mother. No.
No.
We are not asking.
We would get kicked off to the air after that. Let's be honest.
Yes. So happy birthday to your mom, Hassan.
Yeah. A lot of paperwork, like I said. I mean, I can't even go into it because there's just so much to talk about.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
The main event.
There's me 1 foot coin.
Got the one fuck to give.
We got a token.
Yeah, that's his one fuck to give, Canada Dry. He sticks it in the machine, and there we go. Ready to roll.
Absolutely. So I don't know if I'm having connection issues on mine, but can you guys hear me okay? I just want to double check.
I'm hearing you great.
I hear you totally fine, brother.
Awesome. Yeah, so the reason obviously we skipped straight to the intro main event because we've got loads of stuff to talk about, obviously, with this wrestling industry series. AEW, I mean, where do we actually begin with AEW, Mr. Isaacs? I'll let you start. Where should we begin?
Well, I think there was a huge gap in the market for a number 2 American promotion. And I think that all we needed a billionaire who was passionate about the product to bring that. And I think that's what we got. We kind of had that at least for a little while with TNA, and then they kind of fell off a cliff. They still exist, but on a microcosm scale of what they used to be. And, I think that we now, for the first time in 20 years, have a solid number 2 promotion.
Yeah.
Can I respond to that? So I think at the time you had Ring of Honor and you had TNA filling that number 2 role together. Like they were.
I think TNA was well above Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
In its heyday.
Yeah.
Not near the birth of AEW though.
Oh no, neither one of them had any real strong footing right before AEW got started. No.
And WWE was at its worst.
Yeah.
So it's like wrestling was literally dying.
Yeah, that like 2015 WWE, ooh, it's rough.
And yeah.
It's rough.
So kind of
Josh, have you guys seen Joshua Mandrano before?
Hey, what's up, Joshua?
seems like he's a new member here.
He's a new member. Welcome, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome. We're always welcome. We're always obviously part of the community here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we're very community friendly.
Absolutely. So, Canada Dry, would you say that there was like a matter of perfect timing when AEW started?
It was the perfect storm because wrestling was really suffering in the WWE territory and TNA and Ring of Honor, and it came in at the perfect time. And momentum wise, it had so much like goodwill at the start of it all. Like everyone was like just over the moon for this new thing coming in, and like all rockets though, they kind of got to come down a bit.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Mr. Isaacs, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the buzz around them when they started, the anticipation was just so huge. I mean, it was probably the biggest anticipation I've probably ever seen in wrestling, to be honest with you. Because wrestling fans have been clamoring for an alternative, a true alternative to WWE for, practically a decade when TNA kind of fell off that cliff I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so I think there was a whole lot of excitement, and we'll kind of get into probably in a later episode some of the ramifications of AEW coming along to some of the other smaller promotions that were trying to climb up to that number 2 and got swatted down pretty substantially by AEW's formation.
Can we show Joshua's last comment?
Oh.
So I would say like it. I don't think it was could call it a golden age, but it just had a lot of goodwill to start out with, and it had that very WCW feel to it at the beginning, minus the shitty things about WCW.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Rises, how big of an influence would you say Jericho was, obviously, to like the introduction? Because obviously he was a huge name.
Crucial. Yeah. Absolutely crucial. Like if Jericho hadn't been there at the start as the world champion, I think AEW would have substantially had a much more difficult time getting footing. I think that having a bona fide legend, former WWE champion with name value, to say, hey, here's our champion. So can you give us a TV show? I think that had a lot of value. I don't think that could be understated. I think if they hadn't had Jericho as their top guy when they first started, they would have had a much more difficult time finding footing in the television landscape.
Absolutely. Can I try anything to add?
Yeah, with the Jericho thing, I feel like his title run was a little too short. Because you're just connecting these people to the audience. I felt like maybe 2 more pay-per-views or even one. He had one title defense of that belt on a pay-per-view, and then it's gone. So I felt like AEW could have stood a little bit stronger had they let Jericho lead a little bit longer with that belt. But I guess they felt Moxley had good name value as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, obviously, with the first year, I always remember Mr. Isaacs because it was more about, for me, assembling like the roster, bringing in talent and stuff like that and stuff. So what do you remember about that first year?
Yeah, it was very exciting. Very, very exciting. You were wanting to see what was going on. It was a big production. It looked great. Moxley came out at the end of, I think it was the first Dynamite, right? He came out at the very end. Was it the first one?
I believe it was the pay-per-view that he was part of before the TV show started.
Oh, is that when he came out? Okay. Well, I mean, that was huge too, because, again, he was a former bona fide WWE world champion. So, like, you've got 2 top tier guys in Jericho and Moxley. And that was kind of the quintessential feud that started this whole thing. And, it was hot. It was different. It was hot. People knew who Moxley was because he was Dean Ambrose in the Shield very, very recently leading up to this. Of course, Jericho's a legend. Anybody that watched wrestling knows who he is. And it was just so interesting to see. It was like, was must see TV for me because it was like we got to see where this is going because there just hasn't been anything else on the landscape to be excited about in wrestling for many years, and this was it. I mean, for me personally, this was it. This was the thing to get excited about.
Absolutely. Kind of dry. Anything to add?
Yeah, like I remember when Jericho had signed the contract with AEW, and I was like, "What the hell is he doing?" Like that was my instant reaction. What the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
Like what? What is this?
It was
Like,
shocking.
And I was like, "This has no chance of getting off the ground." Was my first thoughts because there'd been no company that really stood tall to WWE.
Yep.
And TNA, even his best was like this to WWE.
Yeah.
So I wasn't giving him much help, but like when those they had that free pay-per-view.
The one they did on Bleacher Report before they. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first ones I watched, and
they did two of them. They did two like free pay-per-views on that were just on Bleacher Report before.
And that was brilliant because it got everyone kind of like, oh, okay, I see what this is like.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's when I really got into it because I was like, this is different. This action that they got going on is different. The other thing that I noticed was the top tier talent. There was a huge drop off to the next level because they didn't quite have those other sort of mid card names.
Yeah,
there was like huge drop off, and as AEW grew, that kind of some of those guys were released, right?
Yeah, your Sonny Kisses, Joey Janela, those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. I can't remember it from a went, to be honest with you.
What was the Chinese wrestlers?
SEMA.
Yes. So what were they called? They were called
Golden Hearts.
Yeah, was it Golden Hearts or what? Something like that.
I don't know. I just remember SEMA. Individually.
Yeah, it was like
because they had some kind of
like some of these random tag teams that were just
I guess Cody had developed some kind of relationship with like the only major Chinese pro wrestling promotion, so SEMA came over, and I remember that.
Yeah, guys, if in the comments if you can remember what they are, let us know because we've had a brain fart. Let's be honest.
Well, it was so long ago, and they were so they weren't very didn't really carry any weight with them.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. The other thing now, obviously, fast forward to that was the pandemic. Unfortunately, it kind of hit AEW at a wrong point. I mean, not much you can do about that, but I remember watching those shows and stuff like that, and they were all right. Mr. Rises, I'm not knocking them, but it was kind of like doing best they can with the situation we were in.
Yeah. So, I mean, for anybody that doesn't remember, which I'm sure you do because it wasn't that long ago, we're talking 4 years, but AEW kind of set up residency at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. And, I thought it had a cool aesthetic. I liked it. Of course, there was just a smattering of fans there. Mm-hmm. There wasn't, you weren't allowed to have a big live audience. And the WWE was doing the thing where they had screens up. And that was like the crowd. It was like screens with people's faces on what they call it, the Thunderdome.
Yes.
So which is now destroyed. The roof is destroyed.
Yeah. So the aesthetic I think was better for AEW at the time because I really liked the Daly's Place, and I do have some fond memories of some of those Daly's Place shows. I have some not so fond memories, like Matt Hardy teleporting around the arena. I thought that was stupid. But there were some other moments that I thought was really good. And I mean, AEW was still kind of in its infancy at this point. And so it was just kind of unique. It was cool. And, it gave us live new entertainment during the pandemic, which is something that virtually no other sphere of entertainment was giving us at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of dry. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think we were desperate for wrestling at that point because we lost everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we lost all these shows that we're recording. We lost live sports, like hockey went on strike, or not strike, but they went on hiatus. All the sports went on hiatus. So the fact that wrestling was still going, and we were still getting these live shows was just like, oh my goodness, we're still getting it, and it was just like we were gonna take whatever we could get. We were lapping it up like desperate cats to milk.
Yeah, there's some great moments, obviously, from the pandemic era. Then I always remember like coming out of the pandemic era because there was a lot of buzz about wrestling's finally going back on the road and stuff. What do you remember about that kind of Dre?
Oh, it seemed like they had the crowd slowly coming back first.
Mm-hmm.
And they allowed a certain amount of people at daily pace. They had like the separation between. This is what something was stupid to me.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have a space between the seats. Like, this is gonna stop. Sorry, I cannot infect you because there's a space. Sorry, like COVID's like I gotta follow the rules. But
it kind of lessens the reach of the air projectile. It's kind of the theory behind it.
Yeah, but I think if you got that many, like if you got like how many people were they letting in there when they started allowing crowds back? It was still quite a significant number that if someone has it, everyone's going to get it, regardless.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I guess it was just like we're going to risk letting people come back because that's what we do.
I might die, but damn it, I'm seeing John Moxley.
Yeah.
Oh dear!
And I remember that sloppy shop comment by Taz.
Yeah.
We don't run a sloppy shop.
About how WWE was handling something or other. I don't remember what.
Handling the COVID tests.
Yeah.
Awesome. The biggest thing I remember following that as well was obviously CM Punk showing up, and I always remember the big thing, which was the worst kept secret and stuff like that. It's one of those things, Mr. Isaacs, where everyone knew he was going to show up. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean this was on. Wasn't this on the first episode of Rampage?
Correct.
I don't think it was the first episode of Rampage because I think Rampage had already started.
No, I think it was.
Was it?
I think it was the first episode. I mean, it was very, very early if it wasn't the first, but I believe it was the first episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they were trying to give Rampage a boost,
which it did. I think that particular Rampage had over 1 million viewers. So yeah, that was a pretty.
I think it was a mistake in hindsight. I think it was a mistake in hindsight.
For what?
To put it on Rampage.
It was a brand new show. They were trying to get it over. I mean, it makes sense.
No, but in hindsight, would you still do it?
Yes, because it was in Chicago.
Well, yeah. I mean, they wanted it to be like a SmackDown type show. Now, it ended up not being that, but that's what they wanted it to be. They wanted it to be their SmackDown. So it made sense at the time.
Yeah. It did. And it obviously did create a lot of buzz and stuff like that, but we have to balance this out on this show, Mr. Isaacs. A lot of stuff started coming out backstage. I always remember this.
Yeah. This is where, and we'll stick with the good here, but we got to mix in a little bit of the bad. This is where they kind of fumbled the bag a little bit. The stuff with CM Punk, not putting personal issues aside. And I think they left a lot of money on the table. Now, obviously, they're doing well because they just signed this new TV deal.
Yeah.
But how much better would they be doing if they had just all gotten in a room together like rational adults and said, you know what? I don't like you. You don't like me, but fuck it. Let's make a bunch of money off of this. They left so much money on the table.
I don't want to blame CM Punk completely on this because the Young Bucks.
I think it's more the Bucks' fault than it is.
And Hangman Page.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to hear you say that because I put the blame more with them than I do Punk based on what I've heard from both sides.
I think Punk was more willing to go to the table afterwards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think the Bucks, I think we're a bit selfish in that respect.
They were egotistical.
They were mad, the disrespect, and they weren't able to look at the greater good.
Yeah. They were looking at it through a personal lens and an egotistical lens and not a business savvy lens. Absolutely.
Now, sometimes on our AFW community, I see someone say something, and I just want to rip them a new asshole. But I don't, because I'm in admin, and sometimes it's better just to say nothing.
Now, would you be eating cupcakes while you did this?
From Mindy's.
From Mindy's.
Yes.
I saw like something from the owner of Mindy's recently that their business has like shot through the roof ever since that. And people are always coming in and mentioning that incident to them. Which is good for them. That's cool.
But the whole thing of the whole CM Punk thing really hurt AEW.
Yep.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Like we mentioned this. I believe it was on the last show last week. We talked about this a bit.
I think so.
We were talking about how when they lost CM Punk, they lost a big name.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able, they got Adam Copeland.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's not quite on the level of CM Punk.
No.
I
mean, he's a great get. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
but he's not CM Punk level.
No,
not at all. And I mean, you can take a look at the data, and you can see that's where it kind of fell off the cliff from 1 million viewers.
In fact, I can show you that actually. I've got it here.
600 some thousand. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Like, ever since Brawl Out, it's been just a steady decline ever since.
Yep. And unfortunately, numbers don't lie there. Do you know what I mean?
I love that was like everything. Vince McMahon's resignation.
That's a good graphic. Where'd you find that, Liam?
I can no longer share my sources.
We'll just say that Liam put it together himself. How about that?
Yeah, we'll go with that. But you see, the point is
the empirical data here that you put together. I'm impressed.
But the thing is, and this kind of leads me on to my next point, kind of is right. The stats don't lie and stuff like that, but it seems like at the moment, whether we like it or not, viewership's a big part of wrestling. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Mr. Isaac, as well?
Yeah, I mean, it is, because I know we'll probably get to that too, where AEW just signed this new big deal, which makes them extremely profitable, which is great. It makes me wonder what kind of deal they'll get down the road if they keep sliding downhill like this, because live attendance has gone way down. I can tell you, the Dynamite that I went to last year looked like it had double the people of the Dynamite I went to a couple weeks ago. Like literally, it was so many more people. And it just sucks to see that. But it's like ever since the Punk thing happened, it's like it's just been steadily going down. Live attendance is going down. The ratings. Did you see the ratings this week? 300,000 people watched Dynamite. That's not good.
They chose to watch the NXT. They were going head to head with NXT.
NXT had 800,000 viewers. Dynamite had
double.
300,000 viewers. That's not a good sign. That's not.
Kind of dry. Your response?
Do you think either of you think that NXT actually has a better product than Dynamite?
At the moment, I think the part street, yes. Other parts, no.
I personally, I don't watch NXT enough to really give an answer, to be honest with you. But I will say that I saw some clips of some of their shows from the past couple of weeks. They were getting huge responses. Trick Williams is getting a bigger pop than anybody on Dynamite right now. Like, no joke. I mean, it's getting big. So I may start checking it out again a little bit, but I'll just be honest and say I haven't checked it out enough to know whether or not I would say it's a better product than Dynamite.
But I also think, we have to limit the amount of wrestling we watch, because we'll get burnt out.
And I've already been burnt out. And I know I've talked to you guys privately about this. Like, wrestling has burnt me out lately. Like, it's getting to the point.
But I also think that's happening across the board in North America.
I think so.
Like, I don't think it's just an AEW thing.
No, I feel the same way about WWE. I'm bored as shit with their product too.
Joshua says NXT has better matches in a cozy environment at the Performance Center, while Dynamite is more adult. I kind of get that anyway. I see where he's coming from, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would agree with those points. That's good points. Good points, Joshua.
But I also really noticed it with the huge response to the effing comic store.
Mhm.
Because everyone was so relieved to not talk about wrestling that day.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about comic books. We're going to talk about superheroes. Like, we're not going to talk about wrestling right now. And everyone's just so happy to like not talk about wrestling.
I feel the same way, brother. Like, I love to get behind this microphone and talk, but there's only so much wrestling I can talk. You know, like, eventually it gets to the point to where it's like, okay, I'm talking about this again. You know, like, it's just, there's not enough going on creatively right now to really generate a whole lot of buzz. And I think that all across the board, wrestling is suffering, even with wrestling podcasts. And that's not just us. Like, there's other wrestling podcasts I listen to that I've listened to before I met you guys, and they're kind of disillusioned the same way that we are. You know, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're going to watch the show and talk about it. But it's like they just don't have the hype that they had 2 or 3 years prior.
Now, you were joking in chat. I don't know if you were serious about this. You wanted to do, what was it, Cigar Club?
Yeah. No, I was serious about it. I mean, okay. I don't think we should do it as like a weekly thing or anything. Because
there's a random special that we all get together.
Yeah. Maybe like a once a month thing or something like that. Like, I'll go sit out on my deck. I'll take one of my USB microphones outside because I can't smoke in my apartment. And I will literally light up a cigar and we can just talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Like an unscripted type podcast thing.
Yeah. I see guys do that. I see. There are cigar specific podcasts on YouTube that I see do that. And it just looks cool. You see these guys puffing on these cigars, just talking about life and music and whatever. And I just thought, well, hell, when you told me you smoked cigars, I was like, maybe we could try that sometime.
Yeah. Like, I think like, and like nothing's out of bounds. We just talk about what we talk about. If wrestling comes up, sure.
As long as it's after 6 o'clock.
As long as it's after 6 o'clock.
Yeah, it's just a random time. I just said it in my head. I don't know why I said that.
I was going to say, like, are we going to get penalized if we don't do it after 6 o'clock?
These guys, they're smoking cigars on YouTube after 6 o'clock, see?
Like, you know what? One of my favorite episodes, quite possibly my favorite episode that you and I have ever done together, Liam. Do you know what it is?
Is it the ECW one?
Well, that's one of them. But I was thinking the one about wrestlers and horror movies.
Yes, I remember that.
I absolutely loved that episode. I've gone back and rewatched that episode probably 5 or 6 times. Like, I just loved it. It was such a fun thing to like kind of deviate from the typical norm and talk about another major love of mine, which is horror films. And it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one.
Now that might be something that we do down the line. A horror film, like, because I know that Bryce is really into
and so is JFB.
Yeah, so like
JFB's big into it. If we could ever like pull him in and get him to do an off show once in a while, I think that would be good. Yeah, I mean, it's something we could definitely explore. Chris Jericho is in the new Terrifier 3 that just came out.
Yeah,
and I saw him making
Bryce loves this show, by the way. This is a big thing.
What's that?
Bryce really loves Terrifier.
Oh, he does. I do too. I'm a big fan of it too. But yeah, Bryce has been sharing like I say something completely like not about anything, and he'll respond with like a Terrifier meme. And I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with that, but what relevance did it have to what I said? He's like, I don't know, just wanted to fucking put it.
I don't know if you've seen in chat lately that Bryce is like, he goes on these repetitive things. So he's like, he tags Tiffany. He's like, sup. Just like over and over.
He's a funny dude. I like him. He's a funny dude.
I really like Bryce. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Sometimes I like Dynamite better. Other weeks I like NXT better. It's a show-to-show basis for me. Yeah, And I think that's kind of how it is for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people are not super tribal. It's like just whichever one's better is better. That's kind of how I am. You know, like I don't.
And I find that tribalism is really off-putting to growing the wrestling fandom.
Yeah, it turns me off. I don't like the tribalism at all. I don't. I don't like the WWE is the devil tribalism. I don't like the AEW is horrible tribalism. I just don't like it. Both extremes irritate the piss out of me.
Yeah,
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
So Taylor Cooper, he tagged AFW in this, I guess, the wrestling group 436.
Okay.
So they had said to the wrestling group, wrestling has scared away Kat Dennings.
Yeah, I've seen this.
And one of the pictures that they showed of all the different people respond to Kat Dennings was effing wrestling.
Oh God!
Too. And so yeah, Kat Dennings isn't going to get into wrestling. We scared her away.
So for the context for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, Kat Dennings, which if you don't know who that is, she was on Two Broke Girls, and she's in the part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She was in the Thor movies. Very beautiful girl, good looking woman. She posted on X one day something about I'm a WWE fan now because she watched.
Or I think I love WWE.
Yeah, she watched some WWE show and like enjoyed it. And the amount of people that were responding, like, if you think that's good, you should check out AEW on Wednesday nights. They got a show called Dynamite. And it was just like a long list of people telling her that she shouldn't like WWE and she should watch AEW.
But it was also people like, try New Japan. Try.
Yeah.
And she's probably like, what the fuck did I just step into?
What kind of Twitterverse did I just like? Subculture.
Yeah. Wrestling. I think wrestling fans are wrestling's worst enemy sometimes. like we can't just like shove people out like that. You can't do that. That's not healthy.
Yeah, and well, since we're talking about AEW, I think the AEW fans sometimes are AEW's worst enemy because like those extremist guys. We won't talk about. We'll let the WWE marks be on a different episode.
Yeah. We got a WWE episode. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, so make sure you mention the WWE mark so it's covered.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to cover the marks on every week. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
AEW marks.
I'm a fair and balanced commentator here on AFW. Right here on the AFW network.
That was one of the reasons why we wanted you on this network because we had a bunch of AEW extremists that we had.
I got to kind of balance you guys out a little bit.
Well, how are we doing? Because I feel like we've come a long way from being AEW extremists.
I think you guys are being a lot better. I mean, just breaking the fourth wall here. Like when I first joined, it was kind of like, you better not say anything bad about AEW. That was kind of the tone, you know, but like over time, it's like, I think you all have kind of mellowed out on that a little bit and kind of come around to my way of thinking a little bit about let's just throw all tribalism out, see the good and bad of everything, and just be honest and real about it. And I do think that this channel has done a substantially better job over the past year or so. I hear you, I hear JFB, you know, I hear all you got. Liam, you know, Liam was
he was pretty hating on WWE for a while.
He was adverse to saying anything about AEW for a while. But you know, like we've all kind of just come around. We see the logic, we see the facts, we intelligently absorb those facts and formulate new opinions based on the data that we see. And I think that this channel's done a really good job of being impartial.
It really bothers me when you say data.
Look, man, I'm a political scientist. I spend a lot of time researching data on social norms and everything. So it's like that's just embedded in my brain.
Because I'm a Star Trek fan, it's always data.
What do you think of the data? Yeah.
I say data as well, just by the way.
Well, usually when like social scientists talk about research, they refer to the data. You know, they don't usually say data.
Yeah, like on Star Trek, if data gets called data, he's like, that is not my name. But what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so my thing was like, okay, so we're gonna grow this channel. We can't be shooing away the larger product in WWE and their fans.
Mm-mm.
No, like that's dumb.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So like that's my big awakening for this. So like, yeah, sometimes WWE pisses me off, but in the end, like it's better to say nothing and gain a bunch of followers.
Yeah, I mean, and full disclosure here, in general, not all the time, in general, I like AEW better than WWE. It's not a wide margin. It's maybe like here and here, but I do generally like AEW better than WWE. But there are things, and I've gone over these things before. I have a very set list of pros and cons that I think one does better than the other, and vice versa. Like I don't think there's a perfect wrestling company out there.
Okay, I will say this. I say AEW puts a better in-ring product overall in the ring.
Yeah.
While WWE is focused on the showmanship, the glamour, the glitz.
Well, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but here's how I see it. Like AEW, I think the good is here and the bad is here.
Yeah.
In WWE, I feel like the good is here and the bad is here. In other words, it's kind of homogenized, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To where it's like the good isn't extraordinary, but the bad isn't absolutely terrible. Whereas AEW could be absolutely god awful or it could be great. I hope that makes sense to everybody out there.
So that what AEW needs to do is bring the bad closer up higher.
Yeah. I feel like WWE is more homogenized and more down the middle, and AEW could either be a complete train wreck or it could be brilliant.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel. Yeah.
The one thing I think as well is I feel like the audience is obviously going to play a big part. Which audience are you want to appeal to? We know WWE is more family friendly. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's more mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows what WWE is. Not everybody knows what AEW is. Period.
Sometimes Molly, when we're talking, she's like, "Are you watching that A&W again?"
A&W. The A&W root beer.
A&W wrestling.
You know what that makes me think of? That makes me think of Lars Sullivan, the t-shirt he was wearing in that particular video. It had the A&W shirt on. Yeah. She thought you were watching the Lars Sullivan video.
That must have been what it was.
So you've kind of just brought me onto a valid point, which I've just thought about is the good thing with AEW, and obviously I don't want to be talking all negative and stuff like that, is we do see a lot of partnerships with AEW. New Japan's obviously another one, CMLL, but it's great to see these matches. I mean, Mr. Isaac, I always remember the first episode we ever did. Through that partnership, you got to see one of your dream matches.
Yeah, Okada and Danielson. I mean, in my opinion, the two best technical wrestlers of the past decade are Danielson and Okada. I still think that. So yeah, I mean, it is very exciting. Now, obviously, I feel like New Japan's kind of fallen off a cliff this year.
Yeah, we haven't said that.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing very well at all. They haven't done a very good job establishing new stars. Losing Okada and losing Ospreay was just like a dagger to them, and they've had a lot of trouble rebounding. And I'll be honest, I've completely lost interest in their product. Like I've barely watched it this year, and it's disappointing because New Japan was coming off a huge boom. You know, those Omega Okada matches, in like 2017, 2018, that was huge, absolutely huge. And, so it's kind of disappointing to see them kind of fall off a cliff like that. So, I don't think the New Japan deal is as big of a deal as it was when they first established it a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But it's still cool. I mean, I like Japanese wrestling. I think it's cool to see, Minoru Suzuki come over once in a while and Tomohiro Ishii. And, I think it's cool to see some of these guys pop up here and there.
Yep. Kendra?
I wanted to bring up the fact that AEW does really well in England.
Yeah, they're huge.
Just like the partnership with AEW in England is so pivotal to the future success. Like in other places in Europe, I go there because it seems to me that the American wrestling fan is apathetic. and you got to embrace the like, if you're a world promotion, you got to embrace where they love you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do that there. Like, if you have to do an overseas tour, do it, and just don't do a live show, and just show the Dynamite at the time when it's on.
Yeah, and the thing is, you brought a valid point up there, because the TNA obviously did the same thing. Obviously, they were big, obviously, here in the UK and stuff like that. And they came, obviously, once every blue moon and stuff like that. So they didn't capitalize on that, audience, like you mentioned, because I always remember TNA was absolutely massive, do you know what I mean, at that time?
Yeah, TNA was huge over there, like to the point to where they were drawing such big crowds around, like, what was this, around like 2011, 2012, something like that, Liam?
Correct.
Yeah, they were drawing such massive crowds that there was at least a slight rumbling of TNA completely relocating to the UK. I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that never happened, but yeah, I don't know what it is. I think the UK is just clamoring for non-WWE wrestling. I mean, I guess Liam's more the authority on this, obviously, than either one of us. But, TNA had a huge run there, and now AEW is drawing massive crowds. They're a lot more. I mean, they could draw a lot more in the UK than they can anywhere here in the US.
No, absolutely. And I think if AEW, like, obviously they do Wembley, which is obviously one of our biggest arenas. There is obviously other places around UK, which I'm pretty sure would draw a lot of fans in, because the problem is, for London area, it's like a 4-hour drive, for some people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure, yeah. Or it's such a big city.
Do you guys want to show GM Joe's comment?
GM Joe. The American hero, my hero, GM Joe.
What's the comment?
Have you guys talked about the new AEW and Fox deal in Mexico? No, I have not talked about any television deals in Mexico. Do you guys know anything about this? I hadn't heard anything about it.
Yeah, so it looks like the AEW will be on Fox in Mexico.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Which leads me to think that this show Shockwave is close to happening.
Could be
with the Fox. I don't know if it'll be on their main network, or if it'll just be on F1. Or
I kind of doubt it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if AEW is a big enough deal to put on the actual Fox broadcast network. I think maybe FS1. I don't really see them putting it on Fox. I really don't. What do you think, Liam? I mean, you're not an American, so I don't know if you know much about Fox, but like, what are your perspective there? Do you think that AEW would do well on a big nationalized network like Fox?
I think if they can get the viewership up, yes, absolutely. But the thing is, for us, it's a little bit different, because we've basically got AEW free on free TV. Do you know what I mean? So we can't really say we have to pay Joe to watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Joe says it can't be FS1 because of the deal with Warner Brothers.
Interesting.
I don't know all the specifics of the legalities. I don't know.
You might join in and obviously enlighten us.
It also depends on the night that Fox has it on.
Yeah, if it's some kind of like I don't know, some syndicated show that's on like Saturday mornings or something. I mean, I could maybe see that. I don't see them putting it in like the SmackDown slot. No. I don't see that.
Like, if you don't have another good show on a Thursday night,
it'd be huge if they did. Like, it would be absolutely huge if they did put it on Fox proper. But I don't think AEW is at that level to be on Fox proper at this point. That's just my personal opinion. Could be wrong. Maybe they're going to put it on there. It would certainly get better ratings than Dynamite, because Fox is a much bigger channel than TBS.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Jacobs has been released from or parted ways with AEW.
Okay. What happened with him?
So some of the things are this. This is about being reported. I don't know how real this is or legit this is.
Yeah, this is all alleged, right? Yeah.
Yes. So was TK's right-hand man, did not believe in the rankings. This part blows my mind. He was not familiar with Kazuchika Okada.
Not many people. Well, that's not surprising. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a big portion who didn't.
Jimmy Jacobs, though, not being familiar.
Yeah, like this is like one of the. He's a pretty big name in wrestling.
He's like a major independent guy from like the past decades. How would he not know who Okada is?
I was just trying to defend him. Then
he was not familiar with AEW programming before coming in.
Well, I could understand that.
He was not He was responsible for the learning tree, and every single learning tree segment was Jimmy Jacobs.
Yeah, I think him and Jericho are pretty good friends. Like, I know he said that he worked very closely with Jericho and WWE with all of Jericho's stuff. I think they're pretty tight with each other, him and Chris Jericho.
He did not want to push Daniel Garcia. He found it laughable when it came to pushing Daniel Garcia.
All right. I don't think that's as egregious as the other things, but all right.
Was opposed to having Takeshita win the ladder match for the TNT title.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like he's a fan of the Japanese wrestlers.
Yeah.
That's the impression I'm getting.
Doesn't like the Japanese, huh?
They were comparing Jimmy Jacobs leaving WWE. Sorry, they're comparing Jimmy Jacobs leaving to Vince leaving WWE.
In what way? That's weird.
Just they didn't like him.
Interesting. Okay.
The talent, apparently. And he was considered to be Dynamite's top writer. Yeah. And apparently an AEW talent was listening anonymously to the space and essentially agreed to all of this. So it's very, to me, it's very, an AEW talent who remains nameless said this is true.
Well, like I said, Jimmy Jacobs is a big Jericho guy. They were always like hand in hand with each other. And I think he was pretty well.
Makes sense that he's part of the learning tree and they would work on this together.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've heard Jericho say that Jimmy Jacobs was like the one producer he would work with in WWE with all of his stuff too. Because he had a stint in WWE, and I think he got fired when he took a picture with the Young Bucks. You remember that a few years ago?
Yeah.
That was the reason he was fired.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's what
petty as that's Vince right there, right?
That's what they said, yeah. That now who knows if that's true or not, but I remember reading reports of that.
Yeah, but that's pretty petty to get fired because you took a picture with someone from the other company.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's probably more to it than that, but that's what was reported at the time, I remember.
And it seems like that might have been loosened up because you got McIntyre with a picture with Jack Perry. So
yeah. Well,
which
Vince
was deleted. Though, so.
GM Joe is confirming that he did get fired for that. Yeah, I remember at the time that's what they had said. That I guess Vince McMahon was like furious at him taking a picture with the competition when he was a producer for WWE. So
now that we do have a connection to Jimmy Jacobs here.
What is that?
He is a friend of a friend.
Oh, okay.
He is Luke Roberts is good friends with Jimmy Jacobs.
It's the Kill City Cup guy, right?
Yes. And so he has proposed numerous times to try and get him on the show. So I would love to pick his brain about all this stuff that is being reported. So maybe I'll give Luke Roberts a message today and see if he's interested in trying to hook him up with us. That
would be a big deal. For sure, that'd be a big deal. I mean, he's been a major player in both WWE and AEW, so he would have a lot of inside information for sure. Yeah. If you get any scoops out of him,
Tommy probably couldn't even say. Like, sorry, I can't tell.
I know. I was gonna say if he could get any kind of scoop out of him at all, it would be absolutely huge for this channel.
Absolutely. So, two little talking points, obviously, now to wrap up. Because 50 minutes is one of the things which has bugged AEW throughout their existence as a flat Mr. Isaacs is the women's division. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people have obviously said it's been really, really bad. Now it has got better. I'm not just saying that, but a lot of people thought Monet was going to be the answer to try and get him to that next level, but I don't think that's working. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think so either. I will say that I know I've been talking about AEW declining over the past couple of years. I think the women's division is the one exception. Mm-hmm. I think the women's division has gotten substantially better over the past couple of years. I think Mariah May is absolutely awesome. I think Toni Storm is just absolutely at her peak over the past year.
Yep.
I think Statlander's amazing. I think Willow has like really shown a lot of growth. I think she's amazing. I think the AEW women's division is actually much better now than it was a couple of years ago, whereas I think virtually everything else in AEW is slightly worse.
Okay, kind of dry.
I think the one thing I agree with everything that Mr. Isaac said, but I think just to critique it a little bit, they made a mistake having 2 heel champions, because you then limit anything that the other heel women can do.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So like that's why they turned Stat face again.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the bill she sent Stokely Hathaway.
I did. I saw that. That was kind of funny.
That was quite hilarious. So she's putting distance again from Stokely to go after a Mercedes. I think this could be a good feud for Statlander.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It seems like they'll have her have to go through what's that broad's name? What's the manager's
Camille?
name? Yeah, Camille. She'll have to go through Camille.
Yeah.
To get to Monet.
I'll be honest here. I don't think Monet's been terrible. I think she's put on some decent matches. I just don't think she's setting the world on fire either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, as much as I've liked her over the years, I don't think Saraya has really made an impact at all. I really don't think she's moved the needle at all when she came in. So I think it's more the homegrowns in AEW. I think it's your Jamie Hayters. I do think Toni Storm, who was a defection from WWE, but she really didn't do much in WWE though.
Oh.
She kind of blossomed in AEW. I think it's kind of more their homegrown women that seem to be doing a much better job.
But it's also like you look at WWE stars outside of WWE, and you realize how much they were really written for and produced for and made to do this, and this is going to help you look like a big deal.
Absolutely.
And if AEW doesn't have that, it's kind of like, oh, this is what you look like without your makeup.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
AEW doesn't have the ability to gloss up somebody the way WWE does. They just don't. Like WWE could take somebody who's relatively mediocre and stick enough production value and producers around them to make them presentable, for sure.
I'd say the exception to that would probably be Adam Copeland, Bryan Danielson.
That's because those guys are just supremely talented.
Yeah, they're just legends in their own right. Let's be honest.
That's a testament to them and not WWE.
Jericho, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Any of the heavy hitters, obviously. I'm talking like your low to mid carders. I'm talking Miro. I'm talking guys like that.
Yeah, Miro. I feel like Miro is a guy that needed the WWE structure. You'd go out, do this.
Yep.
And this is going to make you a star. Okay, boss.
Yep.
But like when you get someone who's willing to work with you, no, I don't want to do that. No.
And then he comes in, he's a video gamer, and then all of a sudden he's like rambling about God every other week, and then he just disappears and you never see him again.
And then like his character development, like let's talk about this for a sec. He's the gamer, game over, which is fine.
It was stupid.
Okay.
Let's be honest.
And then like I did like his God character. Like the God character, the Redeemer.
Yeah.
He's a devout follower of God or whatever. But then you go stupid. He's mad at God. What?
Yeah, like it just didn't go anywhere. Just like
why are you mad at God? You can't have. Shut up.
It ran into a wall.
How are you going to have a feud with God?
I mean, I guess if I lost Lana, I'd be mad at God too, but that's another point.
That speaks for itself, right?
And God's like, look at yourself, bro. Look at yourself. Look in the mirror, bro.
Dear. So 2 big.
It's like I gave her to you, bro. You dropped the ball, bro.
So two big questions, obviously, to wrap up. Obviously, today's show is Mr. Isaacs. For you, obviously, as a fan, where do you see AEW at the moment as a product?
I think creatively they're not doing their best work. I think they were substantially better 2-3 years ago than they are now. And I think they got to turn that around. Now, they just signed this new deal where they're making a ton of money. That makes them financially solvent. I don't know if maybe that's going to give Tony the opportunity to have some more resources to possibly help him put on a better show. I don't think it's terrible. It's not a terrible product. I still watch it every week. But I will say I think it's substantially dipped from what it was a couple of years ago. And the attendance is an issue. The ratings are an issue. It might not be so much now for the bottom line, but I kind of wonder down the road if it continues slipping down incrementally, little by little, what this is going to look like 5 years from now. I just don't want to see them fall off the cliff like TNA did.
Mm-hmm.
TNA, in their peak around 2010, averaged well over 1 million viewers. And we're packing arenas, and they fell off a cliff. And now they don't get 30,000 people watch them in very small venues around the country. I just don't want to see AEW get to that level. Tony Khan has enough money to run this at a loss for hundreds of years. But, if Warner Brothers is investing in it, and if his father's investing in it, they're going to expect some turnaround, especially Warner Brothers. If it's true that they own part of AEW now, they're going to expect a turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that they can get it together and start putting on a more cohesive product like they were 2 or 3 years ago. When Punk first came in, when Bryan first came in, Adam Cole first came in, I thought AEW, that's when they were at their hottest. I really think it was. That's when the ratings were the best. That's when the buzz was the best. And I want to see them get back to that. I don't know what it's going to take, but I hope they get back to that soon.
Absolutely. Kind of dry.
Yeah, I think the expansion, I think, of Collision and Rampage and all these other shows, and Ring of Honor, it's almost like too much.
Yeah.
Too much too soon. If you didn't have Rampage and you didn't have Ring of Honor, you could put on 2 really good, solid shows. Dynamite should not be more special than Collision. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You have Dynamite being special. You have Rampage being okay. It's really got demoted in what it was, and then Collision started out really good, and then it's not as special as it was, and it feels like they have too much going on with Ring of Honor. Not so much Rampage anymore because it's just an hour on your show. You just throw together a few matches, but with Ring of Honor, it feels like there's too much that you need to make these 2 shows special.
Yeah.
And if you got this other stuff, maybe it needs to go away.
Yep.
There you go. So,
or because you're getting the Max deal. Sorry, just let me finish and I'll let you wrap up. So that you got the Max thing coming. If you can get the ROH on Max, then let it produce itself for certain people. Tony Khan, just let them do it, and then you'll be better off for it.
I hope that's what they do. I hope Ring of Honor gets transitioned into Max. Yeah. Ring of Honor's not been mentioned at all in this Max deal, so I don't know, but we'll see.
There was talk of it being on the Outdoor channel or something.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no, sorry. True TV.
Okay.
Yes.
That would be terrible.
Okay. So
at least it'd be television, though.
Yeah. So one follow-up question, obviously, to wrap up today's show is, Mr. Isaacs, what's one thing you think AEW needs to do to get to that next level?
I think one big step that they're choosing not to do at this time is making pay-per-views fully available on Max with no extra charge. I think if they did that and it was on the splash page of Max, the front page when everybody opens the app, I think more people would gravitate to it and be exposed to it for the first time. But nobody's going to pay a premium and watch it unless it's hardcores like us who have already been doing it. I think that's one major thing that I feel they could do differently. And that would be the top of my list.
Okay. Kind of dry.
I absolutely agree with that. Because you're like I'm not heavy on WWE, but it's coming to Netflix. And for the lowest tier, $5.99, I get all the pay-per-views. Are you kidding me? For $5.99 a month, I get all the Netflix and all the pay-per-views and all the sign me up. So like, if you're not an AEW fan and they're like, hey, you sign up to Max, you're going to get all the Ring of Honor, you're going to get all the AEW paper. Wait a second, I'll give this a shot. I like wrestling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think I think he nailed it.
I think you were spot on there, Mr. Isaac. That's a great thing to end on, to be honest. It's been an absolute fun show. So this is obviously part one. Next week, we're going to be looking at WWE as part of our Wrestling Industry series. So we've obviously talked about AEW today. It's been an absolute blast. What have we got planned up for the rest of the channel, rest of the week? Well, tonight, right after Wrestle Dream, we got the garage with myself and Commissioner Joe and Mr. Isaacs, and we're going to give our review on Wrestle Dream right after the big pay-per-view here. So,
and hopefully we're not sleepy enough to start dreaming.
Mr. Isaacs going to have his favorite blend of coffee brewing there.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what I got, and this is really cool because I didn't know this existed. I got these thing called Neuro Mints, and it has 80 milligrams of caffeine and like 200% daily value of vitamin B12, and it's a mint.
Nice.
So you put it in your mouth, it dissolves, and you just like immediately start feeling like neurological benefits from it.
Wow.
Yeah. I got them on Amazon. I got like a 6-pack of like 10s of them.
I might have to check this out.
I will probably pop a Neuro Mint tonight.
I'm going to check this out. This sounds really interesting.
I'll send you the link to it after this. But yeah, it works, dude. Like as soon as it starts dissolving in my mouth, I immediately start feeling a boost from it.
I wish we had some sponsors because we would knock it out of the park with these sponsorships. This stuff is amazing.
Yeah, this midnight podcast about Wrestle Dream is brought to you by Neuro Mints.
Do you what got planned tomorrow, Canada?
We got the round table. We got GM Joe. We got Mr. Kush, and we got JFB and myself, and we're going to be talking about everything and all the things in the world of wrestling, and we're just gonna have a good old time.
Absolutely, of course. So if you guys obviously want to support the show, we're in the land of QR codes. That's right. So if you scan the QR code on screen, that will take you to our link tree, which has got all our socials on there. You can check our YouTube channel out, our Spotify, Instagram, Twitter. Mr. Isaacs, we're in the land of QR codes, man.
We have entered the current century. Like you could just scan a code and Liam's big ginger face just pops up on your screen and tells you to come watch the magic of wrestling.
You know what is shocking to me is the QR code has been around for a long time.
It has, yeah.
And it has some staying power. Like, was this like early 2000s this came out?
It's been around a long time. Yeah.
So like to me, it's amazing that this thing, it's kind of like the fax machine. It just won't die.
Yeah. Well, more people started using it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it works.
It's just so much easier. Do you know what I mean? Saying like, scan that, click that. It's just like, there you go. There's your QR code. Go.
Yep. Gives you everything you want.
Some people, they put the QR code on the TV screen. And I'm like, I'm not getting out of my chair to scan the TV. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just a lot much easier and stuff like that. This has been an absolute blast show. I've of course been Liam Wakelin. That's Canada Dry. He's Mr. Isaacs. Mr. Isaacs, as always, see us out to the outro.
I'll keep it short and sweet because I'm coming back for another show later. I need to save my voice. But guys, just remember that we're always here for you. We love you all. We're a very strong, very close-knit community. Anybody that needs help out there, please reach out and talk to one of us. We're more than willing to help you. Put that fist in the air, guys. Remember, just keep fighting.